Today we are going to discuss one important topic, that is selfishness. Selfishness. Selfishness, like ego, is a kind of a villain in not only in enlightenment related literature, but also in religion, philosophy, spirituality, all. Selfishness is regarded as the source of all the problems, as the source of all problems, almost all problems. Why are people in conflict? Selfish. Why don't two people get along? Selfish. Why are countries in war with each other? Selfishness of the people. So selfishness is seen as the source of all the problems, and so often people propose that selfishness should be dropped, ended. So they talk about selflessness. So they take selfishness as a problem and selflessness as a solution. Selflessness is called compassion or kindness. So such other names. So if you say that selfishness is the source of the problem in any social and economic issues, most people would say yes. Okay. So that is one thing. And then some people assume that dissolution of selfishness or absence of selfishness as the transformation. Loss of selfishness as a transformation. Okay. Like loss of ego. But I would like to say that this approach is so completely misleading. I have not heard any person who is regarded as enlightened saying anything in praise of selfishness. It's all about bashing selfishness and glorifying its opposite or something else. But in my opinion, selfishness is the very foundation of life. Life such as this is impossible without selfishness. It is the basic brick with which this huge structure is built. But how can I convince you? It is here. But let me tell you that the bashing of selfishness is so common in religion, philosophy, and enlightenment that anybody who glorifies selfishness is considered a rebel and a shocker. And most recent one was Ayn Rand. Ayn Rand spoke about virtues of selfishness, created a hero who would boast his selfishness. It shocked the world. That novel was Fountainhead. But Ayn Rand is not the one who started it, though it was an explicit glorification of something called selfishness. But the real rebel in modern times is Nietzsche, who influenced Ayn Rand. Even Nietzsche got the hypothesis or thinking in a different way from Hobbes, Thomas Hobbes. And if you trace the roots of Thomas Hobbes, you will go to one Greek thinker called Thucydides. Thucydides belongs to 4th century. Thomas Hobbes 17th century. Nietzsche 19th century. Ayn Rand 20th century. But all of them shocked the world. Essentially, what is common to them is that they did not accept that traditional morality would be successful. Either they questioned or they talked about what is regarded as real and basic nature of man as opposed to ideal nature of man. So they provided critique of morality, and morality always condemned selfishness and glorified its opposite. So even now, when you come across people who think in an unusual way, they may have been influenced by these thinkers because they thought in certain unusual ways. Okay, so that is the history of dissidence to the traditional morality which condemned selfishness. Okay, so mainstream is selfishness bashing. Few people here and there look things differently. Okay, but how can we think afresh about utility of or advantage of selfishness? Can there be elegant and logical arguments in favor of selfishness? Look in a minute. I want to introduce one argument. This is proposed by somebody who is not having anything to do with religion or philosophy. He is an administrative thinker, Herbert A. Simon. Herbert A. Simon. He makes a proposal, that is, there are two people, A and B. They are watchmakers. They are watchmakers. A watch consists of 1,000 parts. 1,000 parts, assume, make a watch. Okay, 1,000 process. What A does is that he builds each part separately and then adds. Okay. Building each part separately means if he is building one part and suppose he is disturbed, then only this making of first part will be disturbed. First part over, second part over, third part over. If he is building 50th part and he is disturbed, only 50th will be affected. On the other hand, take B. Though it consists of 1000, he doesn't think of them as 1000. He is building one thing, only one. Which means parts are not independent here. That is to say, this is one, whereas this is 1000 leading to one. This is one, only one. So if you disturb him when he is doing a watch, then everything will be disturbed. There is only one. So anything can happen to it. Whereas here, there are 1000. So Simon asks, who is more likely to complete watchmaking? Obviously, it is A and not B. Which means a complex system should have independent parts. I want you to understand this. A complex system is interconnected but across the independent. If not independent, a degree of independence. Simon is using this to put forward a case for decentralization. He is saying, let each unit take care of itself. If there is something wrong with it, let that unit suffer. If punishment helps, let that unit be punished. If reward helps, let that unit be rewarded. Don't mix up everything. If you mix up everything, you will ruin everything. So India should be divided into states and union territories. That's how India can be better governed. States into districts. Of course, more decentralization needed. Which means dividing into independent units with different levels of autonomy is the way to manage the complexity. Is this clear? So a watchmaker should know that 1000 independent units plus interconnections will make a good watch. Now tell me, God wants to create a community of 1000 people. Okay. Shouldn't He create a system where each person is independent, should be in a position to take care of himself, should be punished independently, rewarded independently? Isn't it so? And what is that? That is selfishness. Dividing it into parts is the way to take care of the complexity. Taking care of a watch means creating independent units. Okay. So, independent units constitute the whole. That is the way a complex whole is taken care of. So, taking care of the whole is called compassion. What is selfishness? Selfishness is nothing but compassion decentralized. Anybody who thinks of a complex system should create a system where units take care of themselves. That is the way to take care of the whole. So selfishness is the building block of any system, any complex system that has to be healthy and safe. But at what level that independence should be there is a different issue. Life designed that this independence is there at an individual level. Life also designed the connections also. So selfishness is the building block by which the totality is taken care of. So selfishness is a virtue. So the complexity of life has in its, as a unit, the selfishness. Okay. So selfishness is the contributor to the complexity. So coming back to our old theme, mind is biological. It has to be there. Ego is biological. It has to be there. And the same way, selfishness has to be there. But mind is not everything about man. Ego is not everything. In the same way, selfishness is not everything about man. But the idea selfishness should be dissolved, should go, is as wrong as saying ego should go or mind should go. Because these are the foundational blocks. And when the people who are enlightened don't understand this, they make certain proposals which are, I think, are very, very misleading. We'll come to that. In Enlightenment literature, technical name for selfishness is so-called divisive consciousness. Ego is divisive consciousness. So, one way of saying that ego should be dissolved or selfishness should be dropped is divisive consciousness should go. And divisive consciousness should go and become part of global consciousness. Merge with the global. Divisive should end. So divisive consciousness is a villain. Global consciousness is the solution. Divisive consciousness became a villain because selfishness is seen as a villain. So people propose you should drop your ego, you should drop your selfishness and merge with something higher. I think that's wrong. And such a merger defined as transformation. Again wrong. I am very, very keen on making these clarifications. Because most of philosophy and religion is ego bashing, selfishness bashing. I would say the whole approach is anti-biological. But then, what is transformation? Transformation doesn't seem to be merging with the global consciousness. It is simply not identifying oneself with this consciousness. That's all. I have only one point to make. Non-identification with the divisive consciousness. That's why I said it is non-identification that matters. It is not what you identify yourself with. You may think you are God or God's brother-in-law, or if you are a woman, God's sister-in-law. It doesn't matter. As long as you don't think you are your mind, you are your ego. Whether you think you are an aspect of a cosmic consciousness, aspect of God, it doesn't matter. As long as you don't think that you are the mind, your mind, there is a space, and that space is the potential for transformation. So, approach is towards disidentification, which contributes to silence. This is the right thing. Not something like one mind or global mind. Not this. Okay. So it is towards disidentification and silence. That is what the transformation is. So coming back to Ramana Maharshi's question, to the question, who am I? It just doesn't matter whether you think you are consciousness or not. What matters is that as long as you don't think you are only mind, that is enough. This proposal of global mind, one mind, all these things came up as a result of traditional condemnation of selfishness, which is the building block of the universe. Thank you. Think about it.